Did you know Turkey has a national holiday that exists nowhere else on Earth? Every year on 23rd April, the country celebrates National Sovereignty and Children's Day, the only national holiday in the world officially dedicated to children. Here is the story of why it began and what it means. The 23rd of April 1920 was the day the Grand National Assembly of Turkey convened for the very first time in Ankara, establishing the foundations of Turkish sovereignty during the War of Independence. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk, who would become the founder of the Turkish Republic, chose to dedicate this date not to military victory or to himself, but to the children of Turkey, declaring that the future of the nation belonged to its youth. In 1927, Ataturk formally dedicated 23rd April to children with a declaration: "Children are the future. The future belongs to them." It was a radical act for a new republic. Rather than marking its founding date with military parades or political ceremonies, Turkey chose to mark it with children's performances, joy, and a deliberate statement about what kind of country it intended to be. Over the decades, Children's Day grew into something extraordinary. In 1979, the United Nations International Year of the Child, Turkey invited children from around the world to celebrate in Ankara and Istanbul. That international dimension has continued ever since. Today, children from dozens of countries travel to Turkey to participate in Children's Day ceremonies alongside Turkish schoolchildren, performing their own national dances and songs on shared stages. On 23rd April, schools across Turkey hold performances, parades, and ceremonies. In the Grand National Assembly itself, children symbolically take the seats of parliament and conduct a mock session representing the nation's future sitting where its present governs. Simultaneously, Istanbul's Tulip Festival fills the city's parks with millions of blooms. April in Turkey is an extraordinary month. The most powerful tradition of Children's Day is the Ataturk Youth Ceremony. Children perform theatrical pieces, folk dances, and musical performances in stadiums and theaters across Turkey. In Ankara, a ceremony at Anıtkabir, Ataturk's mausoleum, draws thousands. The day has a distinctive quality. It is joyful and political simultaneously, honoring both the innocence of childhood and the full weight of national history. 3 facts about Turkish Children's Day. First, Turkey is the only country in the world with a national holiday officially and entirely dedicated to children, a distinction that has stood for over 100 years. Second, Istanbul plants over 30 million tulips every April for its Tulip Festival. The tulip originated in Central Asia and came to Europe through the Ottoman Empire centuries before the Dutch made it famous. Third, Ataturk himself had no biological children, making his choice to dedicate Turkey's founding holiday to its youth one of history's more poignant acts. Children's Day reflects something fundamental about Ataturk's founding vision. He believed that a modern, progressive republic could only be built by educating and empowering its next generation. The holiday is not purely for children. It is a reminder that every generation holds responsibility for the next. Over 100 years later, on 23rd April, Turkey still acts on that belief. The concept of celebrating children on a national scale has echoed globally. The United Nations International Children's Day falls on 1st June. Japan marks Children's Day on 5th May as a public holiday. Universal Children's Day is observed on 20th November in many countries. But none of these carry the same constitutional weight as Turkey's. A day when the founding of the nation itself is linked explicitly and permanently to the welfare of its youngest citizens. Vacation Maximizer is a free app for iOS and Android that helps you plan time off around Turkey's national holidays. Download free, links in the description.